Hey everyone, that guy over there bringing you another list write-up for a tournament that I will be attending on the 24th to 25th of April. At the time of recording, it is the 18th, so I'll be posting this after the tournament, just because, I mean, not that I'm really even that big of a threat to anybody during the tournament, but I guess I just want to have my lists and thoughts somewhat concealed before I go into this, and maybe in the future I won't do it like that. But um, yeah, so I'm just looking forward to really my first GT with for fantasy. I've done it before with Tyranids and a couple different armies, but that was all 40K. So this is my first fantasy GT. 5 games, which is more than I played in a weekend for fantasy ever. So I'm actually pretty excited about that, especially with the end times and Lizardmen supposedly flying off into space. I'm glad to, I guess, get my first and last hurrah potentially, because if 1 May brings the new edition, I'm not sure really what this is going to do to tournaments for the rest of the year. If they change it as drastically as they're talking. But at least I got to take my Lizardman to something. So I'll go ahead and flip to my list here. So they've posted up the list of folks who are coming. If you pay and you tell them what your army list is, they post up what army you're bringing. So it's kind of giving me a little bit of a preview of what the field's going to look like. I'm also excited to potentially be playing up against Ian McDaniel. He's the corrupted Bretonnian guy, so I've watched a lot of his battle reports, so I'm excited to meet him. And I'll talk through the lists that are coming. So there's one High Elf player, which I thought was interesting, and then there's a few Wood Elf and Dark Elf players, but really they're an underrepresented race on the field. There's 10 Chaos players. I think it's 5 Warriors and 5 Demons players. So I'm going to end up playing them, and it's kind of exciting because I've only played 1 game against Demons, so we'll see how that goes. And that was a really Nurgle heavy list that I played against. So anyway, so I'm going to end up playing a Chaos, whether Warriors or Demons, or 2 games. There's probably going to be 1 Elf game. Then there's some Empire and Bretonnian players, so I could see me playing against one of them. And then there are 3 Lizardman players, a couple of Skaven players, and then Beastman players. So I'll probably play one of the, I don't know what you want to call those guys, but the something men armies, the animal men armies. I'll play, and that's my predictions. There are no dwarf players. There are a few people who haven't said what their army list is, so they don't have anything posted. So maybe one of them is a dwarf player. Maybe they're all dwarf players, but right now it doesn't look like there's any dwarf players, which is also kind of interesting because you'd think that they were kind of one of the top armies, especially with the ETC. This tournament doesn't have any comp, but so yeah. So with that in mind, I'll go through the list. So first I have the Slam Mage Priest, of course. I built him really to. It's the channeling build with the Focus of Mystery, just to maximize the amount of dice that he gets to affect the battlefield with 425 points. That's a lot for just one model, so I really want him to have the best impact possible. So that's why he has the Calming Cogitation on top of all the channeling, so he has the most impact he can have. I really like Lore Master High, and I think it'll really allow me to tailor my army to each matchup because I've really tried to make it as balanced as possible. So I've got this Skink Chief BSB. That's literally all he has is just a Skink Chief with a BSB. He's there, so as you can see, my army is very avoidance heavy. So I've built my list as opposed to having just a Slam Mage Priest in the middle with the BSB also, so he can reroll all those dice. I've had 2 centers of gravity, one being the Mage Priest and one being the Chief with the BSB, so that way I could catch all these fleeing units. So that was the idea. He's just going to hide the whole game. Plus, if the Slam Mage Priest breaks from combat, I don't want him just to die. So I just put it on a cheapo Skink Chief to be the BSB. So if you imagine that there's two 12-inch bubbles now as opposed to just one, and if I can make sure that they're within 12 inches of each other, then it's like they're in the same unit, and my slant will have a rerollable leadership as it was, and then this guy would have a leadership 9. I don't know. I'll try it. So I'd heard another guy talking about doing it the same way. So we'll see how that works. I've got the 2 Pterodon riders, one guy with the Egg of Quango, and one guy with the Warrior Bane. It's just a cheap magic sword. So they've got high armor save, they've got 2+ ward versus flaming, and then they have magical attacks in the event we run into something ethereal. There's only one vampire count player, but who knows? And with the Egg of Quango, I'm hopeful that it'll have some dramatic impacts on something, whether it means I can just clear off one cannon, or if I get into some combat I shouldn't be in, maybe I can put a dent in the unit. But regardless, I was going to use these guys like units of Pterodon riders and fly them up and get in the way and flee, trying to catch them with those, well, I talked about those bubbles of rerollable leadership or Slam Mage Priest leadership, and because they're fast cavalry, I can just throw them back up and to chaff up my opponent. I'm trying them over a unit of Pterodons because they're cheaper to start out with. I know that I put more items on them, but the items really do have a big impact. They're a little bit stronger in close combat. They have a better armor save, and they have a higher leadership by 1, so they'll be easier to rally. That being said, they don't have as many drop rock attacks, so it's always something to keep in mind. But we'll see how they go this time. They also have a smaller footprint, so maybe they can, I don't know, not panic as easily when other things die, or when they die, other things won't panic as easily, and they can fit in places that a big unit of Pterodons wouldn't be able to. I've got a Skink Priest with Lore of Heavens, Dispel Scroll. I really was torn between Heavens and Beasts. I ended up going with Heavens, just trying to get some of the augments and hexes that are in that lore, rerolling 1s to hit, to wound, and armor saves. That would be really great for some of the other units in my list. Rerolling 6s would be really great on to put on another unit. -1 to hit, plus everything. Pretty much everything's a skirmisher except for my cohorts, my Pterodon riders. So they're going to, if I can stack that'll really be great. That being Harmonic Convergence, yeah. And he has the Dispel Scroll, of course. I've got 6 10-man skirmisher units, a unit of Skink cohorts with a Banner Musician, 13 Skink cohorts with a Banner Musician and Croc score. That's my core. It comes out to be 625 exactly. And the 2 Skink cohorts are there for Fortitude because there's a couple of things that ask for Fortitude. The Croc score is in there because if I put my BSB in there, now the unit is leadership 7 with the Croxagore as opposed to leadership 6 with the Skink Chief. So if, for instance, the Slam Mage Priest dies, then at least they're a little bit better off. And if the BSB doesn't go in there and they're out on a flank somewhere, leadership 7 is definitely better than 6 or 5. And plus I wanted to test it out, see how that unit worked. And it makes them immune to fear, which is good too. I have 4 Croc scores. So this was my unit to fight, because I was assuming that I was going to be fighting a lot of cavalry for whatever reason, 2+ armor save cavalry, or big monsters. Croc scores would be perfect for that. They're my can openers. I've got 9 Ripperdactyl Riders, again, because I have the models. I like them. They're fully painted now. And they are going to be my anti-knight. Like, imagine Bretonia with like a big knight train, coming across the field, or anything with a lot of infantry. I can go after them. And then if we're looking at more of like a cannon gun line type army, they can go pick up cannons. So try them out. But I don't know. I've had success with them in the past. Got 2 units of 5 Chameleon Skinks, they're there to preserve my ability to Vanguard. So if I lose the roll to Vanguard, then they will have scouted up already, so I can Vanguard right behind them, and they push back enemy Vanguarders, which I really like that, and they are pretty effective running around backfield. They're so cheap that I can sacrifice them, and they'd be just a really good thorn in my opponent's side. And finally, the exciting thing in the list, 6 Razordons, one big pack of Razordons. So I'm really excited about fielding this unit. I actually did buy 6 Razordons, and for those of you who are curious, that's like buying 6 Rhinos for 40k or something. They're really expensive each. But anyway, I actually do have 6 of them, and I'm really excited to try out the Slam Mage Priest, putting Hand of Glory on them, and on average they would become Ballistic Skill 5, and on average one of them misfires and the other 5 of them throw out 30 shots. So and then when they're standing and shooting, I would just assume that you would reroll that misfire, so then it would be like 35 shots on average at Ballistic Skill 5, if I can get that spell off, which I assume I can. Maybe that's a bad assumption, but maybe it's something that my opponent will let me get off once, and then after that they'll just dispel. But I'm really excited about it. They got Swift Stride, they cause fear, they throw out an artillery dice worth of shots, they're quick to fire. Yeah, they're really kind of an interesting unit. So we'll see how they go. I'm hoping for good things out of them, and yeah, so that's my list. The idea is that I'm going to be throwing up all this chaff in front of my opponent, and then getting the points that I can with the Razordons, because on average the Razordons actually do kill off a War Machine every turn with their shots. That is, if I can get the Hand of Glory off. But really, yeah, it's just going to be tying stuff up, chaffing stuff up, and then between the Kroxigors getting in the flank of something or getting into anything that I need them to destroy, the Rippers flying around, and the Razordons shooting at passing fast cav or any other, they could even go for monsters or something like that. Like if I switch into Lore of Metal with the Slam Mage Priest, maybe I can get them to get the Enchanted Blades to increase their effectiveness. So I don't know. So yeah, the Slan's going to be switching stuff out, and really the Slan, he earns me a lot of points too. If you've watched my past battle reports, there have been times where I've traded into Death and gotten the Purple Sun, and it's been really effective. So anyway, I guess that's about all I have. If you have any comments on the list, please let me know. If not, there will be more battle reports to follow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.